The following diagrams represent three different... Right, 2017, this is the multiple choice section. The following diagrams represent three different cells. Okay, so we have P, Q and R. Identify the plant cell or cells. Well, you're just looking for the ones with the cell walls. So P and Q, not R. That's an animal cell. So P and Q, B. I suppose we're only putting this in as a... Is it a plant cell here because they don't have the chloroplasts? But there's plenty of cells in plants that don't have chloroplasts. Okay, question 2. This one's quite tricky, you have to read this carefully. Graph shows the concentration of ions in a single-celled organism and the seawater surrounding it. So we've got potassium, which is much higher in the organism than it is in the seawater. And then you've got sodium, which is much higher in the seawater than it is in the organism. So this is about diffusion and active transport. So if we start with potassium, I'm using just the chemical symbols to make it a little bit quicker. Okay, so potassium is high inside, low outside. So if I wanted to do kind of diffusion, normal diffusion, I would expect that it would go this way by diffusion. It would have to go from the high inside to the low outside. And if I want active transport, I'm going to have to go that way, from the low to the high. The sodium is the other way around. Okay, so it's low inside and it's high outside. So if I'm looking for diffusion, it's going to go in the way by diffusion and it's going to go out the way by active transport. I don't know why I've written active. I'll just get rid of that extra one up there. Okay, so use the graph to identify which of the following statements is correct. Sodium ions will move into the organism by active transport. No, they would move in by diffusion, so that's wrong. Sodium ions will move out by diffusion. No, they would move in by diffusion. Potassium ions will move out by active transport. Nope, they would move in. Potassium ions will move into the organism by active transport. Yes. It's a lot of work for a mark. You have to really know your stuff. Okay, question 3. Which row in the table identifies the order of stages involved in genetic engineering? Right, so we start with, well, let's do genetic engineering as a whole. So we need to find the gene. We need to cut it out. We need to extract a plasmid. This is all happening in kind of two streams. And we need to cut it open. I need to join these two things together, the gene and the plasmid, and then I need to seal together. So now I've got a modified plasmid. I put that into modified plasmid into my cells, into cell, and then finally that will produce whatever I'm trying to produce, is the idea. Okay, so required gene identified, they have first here, which is good. Okay, gene inserted into plasmid, I can't do that until I find the gene, so that can't be first, which is why C and D are out, so they're out straight away. We've then got gene and plasmid extracted, gene inserted into plasmid. Well, you can't do you're not going to extract the gene, well you can't, sorry, insert the gene until you've extracted the gene, so this one has to be right, and then it's inserted, and then I can grow my cells. Okay, B, as I say, these two don't work in that order. So A. Question 4 is a photosynthesis question. Okay, the effect of increasing carbon dioxide concentration on the rate of photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide going along the bottom, rate of photosynthesis going up the side. Which two factors could be limiting the rate of photosynthesis between X and Y? Okay, what you're expected to know about all these graphs is, if it's going up the way, it's the thing that's on the bottom is the problem. But once it starts going flat, something else is the issue. You only know 3 limiting factors for carbon dioxide, which are the 3 limiting factors for, 3 limiting factors for photosynthesis, not 3 limiting factors for carbon dioxide. Okay, carbon dioxide concentration is 1. You should know light intensity, and we should know temperature. And that's your 3. So since we've already got carbon dioxide concentration and it's not it that's the problem, it has to be temperature and light intensity. There we go. The reason that A is wrong with starch concentration and D with sugar concentration, you're making these, so it's not actually limiting, that's you're producing. And carbon dioxide concentration can't be limiting when we've just said it's not limiting for C. Okay, which row in the table describes a process in plants which requires sugar and a substance into which sugar is converted? Okay, something which needs sugar. It's not photosynthesis because that makes sugar. So it's respiration needs it, and a substance into which you can convert sugar. Sugar, when it comes out of photosynthesis, has kind of three fates. Okay, once you make your sugar, which I'm going to call glucose just for being slightly more precise, okay? Once you make your sugar, it can either go straight to respiration, or you can store it as starch, or you can use it as a structural carbohydrate to make cell walls and make it into cellulose. So I can make it into cellulose or starch, not protein, not ATP, so B. Okay, question 6 is now no longer part of the course content. The difference in the number of ATP molecules, just to say, okay, between fermentation to aerobic respiration, it's pretty massive. It's 36, which is a pretty big number because otherwise we're just talking about 2. Okay, it's 2 and 38 were the numbers, but you don't need to know that anymore, so don't worry about it. Question 7. Which of the following shows terms listed in order of increasing level of organisation? So you have this as a straight statement in the SQA content. It goes cell, tissue, organ, system. Okay, so cells are the basic unit of life. Tissues are a group of cells working together. You then have organs, which is a group of different tissues working together, and then system made up of organs. So find the right one for how that goes. D. Okay. Next one again is definition. We're looking for definitions of stem cells. Okay, so the important thing about stem cells is that they are unspecialized, so they're not specialized cells, and then they can produce either their own stem cell, more stem cells just by auto-renewing, or they can specialize into other things. So C is actually quite a nice definition of part of the stem cell function. Non-specialized cells that can divide to produce new stem cells, you'd have to tag on or become specialized cells, differentiate to become specialized cells. Question 9, we've got the main parts of a flower. Which row in the table describes the type of gametes produced by the anther and the chromosome complement these gametes contain? Okay, so the anther makes the male gametes, it makes the pollen. Oh, I'm colouring in female, let me just, take that out. Pollen, okay. The chromosome complement, again, straight KU in this one, you need to know that these are haploid cells. All of your gametes are, they only contain half of the genetic information because otherwise your zygote when it forms would have too much information. Okay, so D. Question 10. Which of the following shows the passage of water through the tissues when it enters a plant? I think this is actually quite tricky. Okay, so what we're saying is if water comes in to a plant, this is going to be a very dodgy diagram of a plant, I apologise. Okay, so this is the roots of the plant, obviously. This is soil. That's roots. Okay, and this would be the stem. And as it goes up the stem, it will then come to, oh, the most dodgy picture of a leaf. Let me draw, no, I cannot get a decent leaf picture. There we go, that's slightly better. Okay, so it will eventually get up to the leaves. And what we've got is the transpiration stream, where water is coming in from the roots and leaving from the leaves. But for it to do that, it comes into the roots by osmosis, and then it moves up the stem through the xylem, and then it comes into the leaf where it could be used by the palisade mesophyll, the spongy mesophyll, or even guard cells for photosynthesis, and will eventually leave through the stoma. Okay, so what would be a reasonable passage of water would be root hair, and then up through the xylem, and then to the spongy mesophyll. So A. Question 11, we've got a villus. Which of the following products of digestion are both absorbed into the lacteal? Okay, so you just need to know this. Okay, so we have 3 main food groups. Okay, you've got protein, you have carbohydrates, and we have fats. You need to know that the final product of digestion of these, proteins will go to amino acids, carbohydrates will go down to simple sugars, and fats will be broken down into glycerol and fatty acids. Okay, so that's your final breakdown products, and then you need to know where each one goes. Right, these two go to the same place that this is going to go straight into blood capillaries. And the bottom one this goes into the lacteal. So it's travelling by a different transport system. So your blood capillaries are actually shown here as this kind of network thing that's going over the top. This kind of crossed back over and back. It's actually a very nice diagram of a villus, and if you were struggling to have a nice diagram of it, you could do worse than pulling this picture out and just literally labeling on here that we've got blood capillaries, and then you could add on your other information. Okay. The process which moves food along the digestive system, again, don't worry about this because it's no longer part of the course content, but you might see it in textbooks and things as peristalsis. Question 13. Regular physical activity can help reduce the risk of heart disease. Table shows the percentage of males and females of different age groups who meet the weekly recommendations for physical activity. Okay, so it's a whole pile of data. It says which of the following statements is not correct for this data. So let's be careful. The percentage of males meeting the weekly recommendations always decreases as age increases. Okay, so I'm looking for, so 80 in just in males, 83 goes to 75, goes to 74, goes to 69, goes to 61. That's totally correct. So it's not A. The percentage of females meeting the weekly recommendations always decreases as age decreases. Okay, so 68 to 65 decrease, 65 to 67, that's an increase. So that is actually not correct, just to be absolutely clear. 26% of males aged 35 to 44 do not meet the weekly recommendations. Here is your 35 to 44 males. This is the percentage meeting. So the ones that don't meet is the opposite of this, up to 100%. So 74, take it up to 100 means 26, so that one's right, so we'll get rid of that. And 35% of females, same deal, but this time we're going here, and that is 35%. 35 plus 65 gives you 100, so not that. Okay. Question 14, an example of a biotic factor affecting a population of plants is. So biotic means that we are looking for a living thing. Here we go, leaf disease. Reducing the rate of growth. That would work, because if you look at the other ones, acidic soils, so that's your pH, shade from buildings is going to be light intensity, cold winter, so that's temperature. All of these, you know, are abiotic, and you have them as your examples of things for that. So definitely going with A. Which of the following statements is true of predation? So predation, that is a living thing impacting. So everything we just said on question 14, same thing here. This is going to be biotic, okay? And predation means that they are hunting and killing prey. So it's going to cause a decrease in prey numbers. C. On average, 90% of energy is lost at each energy transfer in a food chain. Which of the following is a cause of this energy loss? Okay, so what we're seeing here is, as you go from one animal to or plant to another, but let's go rabbits to foxes. It's a really common one they give. Okay, so the energy that goes to the fox from the rabbit, digested material, well, that would definitely get to them. So that's not an energy loss issue. Cell repair. If the rabbits have repaired cells, they've added that into their body again, so basically foxes get that, so it's not that. Movement, however. If the rabbit is running away, that energy is now being used to run, and the fox doesn't get that energy back. So that's why that's that, and growth is the same argument as cell repair. Okay. Question 17, you've got a pyramid of numbers. Which letter represents the producer? It's always producer at the start, so there's your producer. This is your example of an odd pyramid numbers. It doesn't follow what you would necessarily expect with kind of decreasing numbers as you go up. What you're expecting here would be like one big producer. Normal example would be something like a tree, which then has lots of things feeding on it, small insects, then going to smaller birds and things like that. Okay, question 18. The following graph shows the changes in wheat yield over a 50-year period. The percentage increase in wheat yield from 1950 to 2000 is. Okay, 1950 is here, and the wheat yield was 2, and 2000 is up here, and the wheat yield was 7. So percentage increase or decrease, all we're looking for is change. Okay, so change divided by the start times by 100. Every single time, just look for the change take it over the start. So the change is from 2 to 7. So the change is 5 divided by 2 times by 100. So that's 2.5 times by 100. So 2.5. Sorry, 250. Okay, question 19. Which row in the table describes a type of competition and a matching example? So we've got inter-specific and intra-specific. Inter is between. Okay, like an international flight takes you between two countries. Okay, intra is inside. So inter-specific, 2 birch trees. No, they're both the same, so no. Inter-specific, lions and hyenas feeding on zebra. Yes, okay, because they're both different species. So that one works. Just to check. Intra, so same species, seals and dolphins. Nope, because they're different. Intra-specific, buttercups and daisies. Nope, we've got 2 things in there as well. So has to be B. Last question in the paper, well, this section. Following paired statement key can be used to identify invertebrate groups. Use the key to identify the invertebrate group to which the following organism belongs. And so you've got a little picture here. Okay, so first question, paired statement key is 6 legs or more than 6 legs. Well, it's definitely got more than 6 legs. I'm going to go to 2. Okay, is it 8 legs or more than 8 legs? Definitely has more than 8 legs. Go to 4. Okay, I'm at 4. 1 pair of legs per body segment or 2 pairs of legs per body segment. Okay, so just have a look at each of these. Here's a segment. It's got 1 pair of legs there. Next segment, definitely just 1 pair. So it has 1 pair of legs per body segment, so it is C. And that's that section.